I've seen a lot of stuff this year about the NBA, the ratings being down, the popularity being down, the criticisms of the league as a whole. And a lot of people are taking the roots back to Steph Curry, Golden State, the style of basketball that they play, typically boiling down to Steph Curry and the way he played basketball continues to put it specifically in the stretch run of 5 or 6 years there where Golden State dominated the NBA. And I can say this, if you blame Steph Curry and Golden State for the ultimate demise of the NBA or the heavy decline of rating, then you don't know ball, because it's not Steph Curry's fault that everybody jacks threes and nobody defensive or offensive rebounds or shoots any ball inside the 3-point line besides big men. It's not Steph Curry's fault. Everyone else's fault for trying to emulate the style of play and the caliber of game that is impossible to replicate because of Steph Curry's incredible shooting ability. It's the rest of the league's fault for trying to duplicate a process and an outcome that's you can only generate from a guy like Steph Curry, who's one of the all-time greatest shooters. I'd relate the NBA's decline to the MLB's decline and what the MLB went. The NBA is declining. There's no question about it. But the answer is, or the question, I guess, how or why? The NBA is definitely declining. The answer is, why is it declining? And everyone wants to blame Steph Curry. Everyone wants to blame Golden State, the style of play, the basketball that they decide to execute on a night in and night out basis that led them to a bunch of championships. And it's not Steph Curry's fault. Why? Because Steph Curry could do it. That's why it was so successful, because Steph Curry is one of, if not the greatest shooter of the basketball in the history of the National Basketball Association. Other teams and other players trying to replicate that style of play are the ones to actually blame for how we got to where we are now in the NBA, which is, it is now a wreck 3-point shoot around, offensive rebound, not just optional, doesn't exist. Mid-range jumpers have disappeared. Anything inside the paint is only done by big men and big men alone. Drive, go up for the shot, get fouled, or kick it out, shoot a three. That is the entire offensive scheme of every team in the NBA right now. And we got to this point because everybody is trying to copy what the Golden State Warriors did and how it led them to a long run of success, because they had elite shooters in both Steph and Clay, dominant big man like Draymond, and complementary pieces around them that ultimately led to a championship that will never be replicated again, except everyone's trying to replicate what Golden State did and what made them successful. And in doing so, it's turned the NBA into the worst product imaginable. And I relate it to what happened in Major League Baseball, because Major League Baseball analytics people, similar to what's happening in the NBA, with the 3-point shot, Major League Baseball people are like, oh my gosh, the most valuable thing you can do every time you come up to the plate is hit a home run. So why doesn't everybody try to hit a home run? And the second most valuable thing you can do is get on base. So either hit a home run or walk. And if you can't do either, well, strikeouts aren't the end of the world. And in basketball, 3 points is worth more than 2. So how about everybody shoots threes all the time, forever, no matter what? And if you can't make the three, drive and get fouled, because at least that's free throws. It's better than nothing. But shooting a mid-range jumper at a percentage that's 3 points higher than the 3-point shot is completely worthless. It's the same thing that happened in Major League Baseball. The 3 true outcomes in Major League Baseball, with going up to the plate, expecting from 6 guys on every team, home run, walk, or strikeout. It made the game of baseball slower. It made the game of baseball harder to watch. It made the balls in play fewer and fewer and fewer. And in doing so, it diminished the overall entertainment value and the product that was on the field in Major League Baseball. So what did they do? They implemented rules limiting or banning the shift on defense, incentivized guys to put the ball in play a little bit more. They also put in a pitch clock to speed the game up a little bit, which didn't allow guys necessarily to just dig their heels in, take as much time as they wanted between pitches, and just coil up and unleash with home runs. They also limited the amount of pickoffs, or at least the attempts. In doing so, it incentivized or made it easier for guys to steal bases, increase the action. And now in the NBA, it's hard to imagine what exactly they need to do in order to correct what's gone on in the league about the three-pointer becoming not just a focal point, but only concern for every single team. But the blame for the NBA's decline, the blame for the NBA flying down the toilet and sinking in every single term of rating, the blame for the NBA's massive decline that everybody's noticing does not fall on the origin of how we got here. It doesn't fall on Steph Curry and his incredible ability to play basketball and shoot at the highest level potentially of all time. It's not his fault. He revolutionized the game. He gave people a different perspective on how to be successful. The blame falls on everybody else trying to copy what Steph Curry and Golden State did. Golden State and Steph Curry were the anomaly. It's not a coincidence that up until Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and the roster construction for Golden State, no championship team was built the way they were. And now it's turned into, how can we emulate Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors and shoot as many threes as we possibly can? Now, mathematically and analytically speaking, the three-pointer is more valuable than the two-pointer. And if you can refine your three-point shooting, then ultimately that's more valuable than going inside the arc and taking a mid-range jumper. Percentage chance to go in about 4% higher. And if you're a big man, get the ball inside the paint. You can't make threes, just go up. Just flail, draw a foul. That's an opportunity for 2 free points. And it's the same story that happened in other sports where 1 or 2 people came along, changed the game a little bit, analytical guys got involved, and all of a sudden everybody tries to be the revolutionary following after the anomaly. So I'm not sure in the NBA's case what they're going to do. I don't know how the NBA fixes what's going on, but the league-wide trend down, everything, quality of play, caliber of players, viewership, ratings, attendance, I guess revenue staying pretty steady because of the TV contracts, which are always the largest stream of revenue. But I don't know what the NBA is going to do. I don't know what the NBA is going to do. After Steph Curry and LeBron are out of the NBA, I don't know what that league's going to do. I really don't know what they're going to do in terms of generating viewership and increasing rate. It's going to take something drastic from the commissioner, because every decision they've made so far ultimately has exacerbated the issues that they're facing, which is quality of play is down, 3-point shooting is the only thing anybody cares about, physicality doesn't exist anymore. Rivalries don't exist anymore. The officiating is an absolute joke. The officials think it's about them half the nights. And you got one side of the league, one conference that has more than half the teams under 500. The regular season and the value of a regular season game does not exist because they've even increased the number of teams getting into the postseason. 2/3 of the league makes the playoffs every year. All these different implications with the commissioner ultimately have led to the league's continuous decline. So I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know if they need to move the 3-point line back. I don't know if, they need to change the way the games are officiated and make fouls less common. They need to, I really don't know the exact answer, but everything they've tried to implement so far ultimately has continued and perpetuated what's going on, which is a decline in the league's viewership, decline in the product, a decline in the watchability of the league. So I don't know what's going to happen, but don't blame Steph. It's my biggest and my main point of this entire diatribe. It's not Steph Curry's fault that everybody else and every other team is trying to emulate what he did and what Golden State had in their championship run. Because what the Warriors did and what Steph Curry did and continues to do is an anomaly. It's not what should be the goal and the aspirations for everybody. You can't just go out and tell every dude on your team to shoot 40, 50, 60% of their shots from beyond the arc. In regular, traditional, typical basketball, strategically speaking, historically up to this point, absolutely no reason why guys like Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid ever spend a moment outside the 3-point line. And yet here we are, Jokic in some games takes upwards of 8 to 10 threes a night because he's just to score instead of 2. And analytically speaking, they've told these guys 3 is worth more than 2. Mathematically speaking, that is correct. But in terms of the overall entertainment value of what's gone on in the NBA, it's leading to the league's demise. It's leading to decline in viewership. Not to mention all the other factors. The officials are horrendous. The officials think it's about them every single night. The giant 6'5" to 7' grown men are flailing around the court trying to draw fouls. There's no physicality. There's no rivalries. There's no intensity. There's no incentive to play well. They've had to artificially create the incentive by making the middle of the season a tournament And all these things have just continued to turn people off to the NBA. They increased playoff teams, and now 2/3 of the league, postseason basketball. You've got one side of the league in one conference where half of the teams in that conference under 500. You've got another side of the conference where 1, 2, or 3 different teams are probably going to come out on top of that Western Conference and then get in the playoffs as the 1, 2, and 3 seeds and get bounced in the first round. It's just not a great product. And I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know if they have to move the 3-point line back. I don't know if they have to call fewer and fewer fouls. I don't know. But there has to be a correction in place, especially once these TV contracts start to run. Oh, and by the way, the NBA doesn't have great viewership. Product in the court is terrible. The NBA is confused about why are the viewership ratings down when the product in the court is horrendous. The officials make it about them every single night. There is not just a lack of, there's almost no star power in the NBA anymore, and there will be zero star power when LeBron and Steph are gone. One conference is a complete joke and half the teams are under 500. The other conference has 3 or 4 solid teams that are going to get bounced in the first round despite being the top seeds. And then the icing on the cake is the NBA doesn't let their fans watch some of the best games. The TV deals and contracts and accessibility for viewership is borderline impossible for mid to small market teams. And Adam Silver is just standing there with his eyebrows raised. Huh? Our viewership's down? Our ratings are historically the lowest they've been in the last 30 years? Nobody wants to watch a 3-point rec gym shootout with no competitiveness and no rivalries? What? That's where the NBA is right now. That's what we've gotten to.